Have you ever had your most humiliating moment laid bare for everyone you care about to see, by the one person who's supposed to protect you no matter what? I'm talking about the kind of gut-wrenching betrayal that leaves you questioning everything: your worth, your family, even your ability to get back up. That's exactly what happened when my mom, the woman I trusted with my deepest insecurities, spilled the story of my biggest failure to our entire extended family during a holiday gathering, turning my private shame into public gossip in a matter of minutes. This isn't just about a secret being exposed. It's a raw, messy journey through heartbreak, self-doubt, and the fight to rebuild myself stronger than ever. Stick with me as I unpack the pain of being betrayed by my own mother, the memories that shaped our complicated bond, and the shocking twist that made me see her actions in a whole new light. I'm still figuring out how to move forward, and I need your help to decide what's next. Let's dive into one of the hardest, yet most transformative, chapters of my life. My name's Ethan, and I'm 29 now, living in a small apartment in Portland, Oregon, where the constant drizzle and towering evergreens outside my window feel like a mirror to the stormy emotions I've been wrestling with for years. This story spans from 2017 to 2023, centered on a devastating moment during a Christmas gathering in 2019 when my mom, Linda, shared my most humiliating failure with our family, shattering my trust in her. The emotional conflict tearing me apart is the clash between the deep love I've always had for my mom, who raised me single-handedly through tough times, and the searing anger and shame I felt when she exposed my lowest point, making me wonder if I could ever confide in her again. The unexpected twist came in 2021 when I learned that her decision to share my story wasn't out of malice, but stemmed from her own desperate need to connect with the family after feeling isolated for years, a revelation that left me conflicted between lingering hurt and a reluctant understanding. This all unfolds in Portland, a city of gray skies and vibrant quirks, where the damp streets and cozy coffee shops have been the backdrop to both my darkest days and my slow climb back to confidence. Growing up in Portland, my mom was my rock, the one constant in a life that often felt unsteady after my dad walked out when I was just 5. We lived in a modest house in the Hawthorne district, a funky neighborhood full of vintage shops and colorful murals, where I'd spend hours as a kid biking along the Willamette River with her, stopping for hot chocolate at tiny cafes while she told me stories of her own childhood. She worked 2 jobs, days as a nurse's aide, nights as a diner waitress, to keep us afloat, and I always saw her as this unbreakable force, someone who'd do anything for me. I was the quiet, creative type, always doodling in notebooks or dreaming up big plans, and she'd encourage me, even when money was tight, buying me cheap art supplies or taking me to free gallery events downtown. Now, as I sit in my apartment with the rain tapping against the window, the faint smell of pine drifting in, I can't help but wonder how that fierce protector turned into the person who hurt me more than anyone else ever could. The failure that became the center of this storm started taking shape in early 2017, during a rainy Portland spring when I was 23 and fresh out of community college, full of ambition but short on experience. I'd landed what I thought was my dream opportunity, a chance to start a small graphic design business with a friend, creating branding for local startups. I poured everything into it, maxing out credit cards, working late nights in my cramped bedroom with the sound of rain as my only company, dreaming of making a name for myself in a city known for its creative pulse. I'd sketch logos at dive bars in the Alberta Arts District, fueled by cheap coffee and big ideas, telling myself this was my shot to prove I wasn't just some aimless kid, but someone who could build something real. Mom was supportive, even loaning me a little money for software, and I felt like I was finally making her proud, something I'd craved since I was old enough to notice her tired eyes after double shifts. By late 2017, though, the dream crumbled faster than I could have imagined, as Portland's wet winter mirrored the cold reality sinking in. My business partner bailed after a few bad deals, leaving me with debt and a string of angry clients who'd paid for work we couldn't deliver. I lost everything: savings, confidence, even the tiny studio space we'd rented near the Burnside Bridge. I remember sitting on the waterfront one dreary evening, the river dark and choppy, feeling like I'd let everyone down, especially Mom, who'd believed in me when I barely believed in myself. I didn't tell her the full extent at first, too ashamed to admit I'd failed so spectacularly. But eventually, I broke down over a quiet dinner at our old house, the familiar creak of the floorboards grounding me as I confessed how I'd tanked it all, tears mixing with the taste of her homemade stew. She hugged me tight, promising we'd get through it, and I thought that was the end of it, a private wound between us. The betrayal blindsided me during the Christmas of 2019, In the middle of a family gathering at my aunt's house in the suburbs of Portland, where the holiday lights outside couldn't brighten the darkness that hit me when Mom let my secret slip. We were all crammed into the living room, the air thick with the scent of pine and cinnamon, relatives I hadn't seen in years catching up over eggnog. When Mom started talking about tough times we'd faced, I was half listening, nursing a beer by the fireplace, when I heard her mention my business, my failure, casually, like it was just another family anecdote, detailing how I'd lost it all and how hard it had been to watch me struggle. My heart stopped as heads turned, cousins and uncles offering pitying looks, some even asking follow-up questions while I sat frozen, the room spinning, feeling like I'd been stripped bare in front of everyone. The drive home through Portland's misty streets was silent, the glow of holiday decorations mocking me as I gripped the steering wheel, rage and humiliation boiling inside, wondering how she could have done this to me. The aftermath of that night stretched through 2020 as Portland locked down under gray pandemic skies, giving me too much time alone in my apartment to stew over the hurt while the world outside seemed to pause. I couldn't look at Mom the same way, dodging her calls, ignoring her texts about Sunday dinners, unable to face her without picturing those pitying stares from Christmas. I'd walk along the East Bank Esplanade, the river a dull slate under overcast skies, questioning if I'd overreacted or if I had every right to feel this violated, the damp air chilling me as much as the memory of her words. Every family photo on my shelf, us at Multnomah Falls, grinning at food carts downtown, felt like a lie, a reminder of a trust one wasn't sure I could rebuild. The city's quiet streets, usually a comfort, became a backdrop to my isolation, each rain-soaked step a debate over whether I could forgive her or if this had changed us forever. The emotional weight didn't lift easily, even as 2020 dragged on, and I tried to distract myself with freelance gigs, hunched over my laptop in my dim apartment, the patter of rain a constant companion while I wrestled with shame that wasn't just about the failure anymore, but about how exposed I'd been. I'd scroll through old designs from that failed business, each one a stab of regret, wondering if Mom had even realized how much her words cut, or if she'd dismissed it as no big deal. I stopped visiting her house in Hawthorne, unable to walk through that familiar door without hearing her voice recounting my collapse, though the guilt of pulling away gnawed at me, knowing she'd sacrificed so much for me growing up. Portland's endless drizzle felt like it was washing away pieces of our bond, leaving me to question if I'd let this define us, or if I could find a way to move past it without losing her completely. The unexpected twist hit me in the fall of 2021, on a rare sunny day in Portland when the leaves were turning fiery orange, and I met up with my mom's best friend, Carol, at a small cafe in the Pearl District, the smell of roasted coffee grounding me as she dropped a bombshell I never saw coming. Over lattes, with the hum of the city outside, Carol revealed that Mom hadn't shared my story to hurt me. She'd been struggling with loneliness after I'd moved out and started distancing myself even before the business failed, feeling disconnected from the family, and thought sharing our struggles would make her seem relatable, a way to bond with relatives she felt had drifted from her. I sat there, staring at the steam rising from my cup, a mix of shock and confusion washing over me. Anger that she'd used my pain as her bridge, but also a pang of sadness for the isolation she must have felt, leaving me more torn than ever about how to process this. That revelation haunted me through the rest of 2021 as I wandered Portland's damp streets, the holiday season approaching again with its twinkling lights and bitter memories, trying to reconcile the Mom I knew with this new layer of her vulnerability. I didn't confront her right away, too raw, too unsure of what I'd even say, but I started journaling late at night, the glow of my desk lamp casting shadows as I scribbled out my anger, my guilt, my longing for the closeness we'd lost. I drive out to Forest Park on weekends, hiking through muddy trails under a canopy of firs, questioning if I'd been too hard on her, or if her reasons even mattered when the humiliation still stung. The city's artsy vibe, murals popping up, indie bands playing in dive bars, felt like a nudge to rebuild, though I couldn't decide if that meant reaching out or just focusing on healing myself first. By 2022, I decided to take control of my narrative in a way I hadn't before, channeling the lingering pain into proving I could rise above that failure, starting with a personal goal to launch a solo design portfolio that would showcase my comeback. I spent months rebuilding my skills, taking online courses, networking at local creative meetups in Portland's warehouse districts, determined to create something no one could take away or turn into gossip. I'd work late into the night, the rain a steady drum outside, designing branding for small businesses again, but this time on my terms, each project a small victory over the shame of 2017 and the betrayal of 2019. as spring bloomed. With cherry blossoms lining the waterfront, I felt a flicker of pride, though a quiet ache remained when I thought of Mom, wondering if she'd ever know how far I'd come, or if I even wanted her to after what she'd done. The emotional toll of carrying this unresolved hurt didn't vanish, even as my portfolio grew and I landed bigger clients through mid-2022. Each success bittersweet as I sat alone in my apartment, the city skyline a faint glow through the fog, wondering if I'd let this rift with Mom shape me too long. I'd walk through the Saturday market downtown, surrounded by artisans and the smell of fresh crepes, questioning if I'd been too quick to shut her out, or if that distance was the only way I'd protected myself. I avoided family-heavy events, like my cousin's summer barbecue, unable to face the possibility of seeing Mom without a plan for what I'd say, though the guilt of dodging my roots ate at me. Portland's vibrant energy, food trucks, bike paths, pushed me to keep moving forward, though every quiet moment brought back the question of whether I could forgive her without forgetting the pain. By late 2022, I'd turned my portfolio into a full-fledged freelance career, a quiet triumph celebrated alone with a beer on my tiny balcony, the cool autumn air carrying the scent of fallen leaves as I reflected on how far I'd climbed since that failed business. I started getting recognition at local design expos, even winning a small award at a creative fair in the convention center. The applause of balm to old wounds, though the absence of Mom in those moments cast a shadow over my victories. I'd scroll through my phone late at night, seeing her occasional texts, simple things like, thinking of you, and feel a tug of longing, wondering if she'd heard about my success, if she regretted that Christmas night as much as I still felt it. Portland's moody fall, with its golden light and sudden showers, felt like a mirror to my indecision, urging me to decide if this was enough, or if true healing meant facing her. Reflecting on the journey through early 2023, I spent a lot of time at local haunts like Powell's Books, losing myself in the stacks, thinking about how that failure in 2017 had nearly broken me, and how Mom's betrayal in 2019 had almost finished the job. Yet here I was, stronger in ways I hadn't expected. I'd recall the early days of starting that business, so full of naive hope, now warped by the memory of her words at Christmas, wondering if I'd been too focused on my own shame to see her loneliness back then. I thought about Carol's revelation, softened by time, questioning if Mom still felt disconnected, or if she'd moved on while I stayed stuck in this hurt. I'd sip coffee at Stumptown, watching the city bustle outside, asking myself if I'd overreacted to her actions, or if I'd ignored the cost of holding on to this grudge for so long. Portland's eclectic charm, hipsters, street art, misty mornings, felt like a challenge, pushing me to decide if I'd let this define us forever, or if I could build something new despite it. By mid-2023, my freelance career was thriving, with clients across the state, and I'd even started mentoring younger designers at a community workshop, a way to give back that felt like reclaiming my narrative, though Mom's absence still lingered like Portland's ever-present fog. I celebrated other wins, saving enough to move to a better apartment, joining a local hiking group to explore the Columbia River Gorge, though I caught flickers of longing in quiet moments, a reminder of the family bond one couldn't fully sever. I started volunteering at a neighborhood art program, teaching kids to sketch, the act a bridge to my past with Mom, though every shared laugh with them made me think of her, wondering if she'd grown into a stranger, or if a piece of our closeness remained. The city's creative pulse, open mic nights, gallery walks, kept me moving forward, though the full picture of our story felt unfinished, like a design I couldn't quite perfect. The emotional weight of navigating this fractured bond persisted, even as I pushed ahead, each memory of that Christmas a reminder of how fragile trust can be, especially with someone who's supposed to be your safe harbor. I'd spend hours sketching in my new place, the view of Mount Hood in the distance a quiet inspiration, wondering if I'd let this pain shape me too long, or if I'd reclaimed enough by building my own life. I started avoiding certain spots tied to Mom, like the diner near her house where we'd had late-night talks, unable to face those ghosts without feeling that sting of loss. I'd wander through Washington Park on quiet evenings, past the rose gardens and hidden trails, asking myself if I'd been too quick to shut her out completely, or if that distance was the only way I'd survive the hurt. Reflecting on my past became a near-constant loop through the summer of 2023, especially on rainy nights when I'd sit by my window, watching the city lights blur through the downpour, thinking about the Mom I'd once had as my biggest cheerleader. I'd recall the time we spent a whole day at the Oregon coast as a kid, her laughing as we dodged waves at Cannon Beach, a memory now shadowed by the image of her exposing my failure. I thought about her small gestures, leaving soup on my doorstep during the pandemic, now warped by years of silence, wondering if she'd been told I was over it, or if she secretly missed me too. I'd hike through Tryon Creek State Park, the scent of damp earth grounding me, questioning if I'd ignored signs of her struggle back then, or if I'd been too wrapped up in my own pain to see hers. Portland's resilience, locals braving the rain, community events blooming, challenged me to decide if I could let go of the past, or if some hurts were too deep to heal. Now, as I sit here in my apartment, the soft patter of rain against the window a familiar lullaby, the distant hum of the city settling into night, I'm still wrestling with where to go from here. My life feels fuller, with a career I've fought for and a sense of self I've rebuilt from the ashes of that failure. But it's not whole. Not yet. There are nights when I stare at my phone, wondering if calling mom could mend something, or if it'd just reopen the wound. And then there's the part of me that just wants to focus on my own path, to keep building this life in Portland, maybe even start a small design studio again, though I'd hate to do it without her pride in me like I always dreamed as a kid. So, I'm turning to you, my listeners, because I'm at a crossroads and I could really use your perspective. Have you ever had a parent or someone so close betray your trust by sharing something deeply personal, only to find out later there was more to their story? How did you handle it? Did you confront them, risking old hurts for the chance of rebuilding? Or did you focus on creating your own space, letting the past stay behind you? I'm torn between reaching out to mom, maybe inviting her to see one of my design showcases to show her how far I've come, or just keeping this distance and pouring everything into the life I've built without her. Drop your thoughts below, because I'm still figuring out how to let go of the pain without losing the hope of one day having my mom back as my biggest supporter.